All right. Let's get this out of the way first. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on Tailboard Talks Firefighter podcast are solely those of the speakers, guests, and host, and do not in any way represent the thoughts or views or opinions of any other employer, partnership, or sponsor. The material and information in this podcast is for general information purposes only and should be used at the listener's discretion. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Tailboard Talks Firefighter podcast. My name is Chris from 4th Shift Firefighter. If it looks a little different on YouTube today, it's because I'm using the GoPro because once again, this camera battery died. I think it's time for a new one. It drives me bananas when it dies halfway through. I got 10 minutes into recording, camera died, and now I got to wait for the battery charge. So we switched over. We're starting over. Welcome to the post-Christmas, pre-New Year's episode. Thank you for checking it out. One of my resolutions, even though I'm not a big resolution guy, one of my resolutions for 2024 is to do a better job at reminding you guys about my affiliates and ways you can support the show. I'm still not going to put ads on the show because I cannot stand them. I cannot stand listening to a podcast, watching a YouTube video, and right in the middle, the cheesy music comes in and then an ad for Clorox wipes runs for a minute and a half. It drives me bananas. Not doing it. I even don't want to put them at the beginning of the show because I just don't want to. I would love to become affiliates with more companies, firefighter companies, firefighter support companies, and promote them on here and have you support them, which then would support me. But just running ads, I just don't think that's what I'm going to be into. So in that vein, one of my major affiliates is Rescue One CBD. Awesome company, great guy. He did an episode on here. He supported a couple charity things I've done. Can't say enough good things about him and his product. He's got a couple different types of it. He's got like a roll-on, a nighttime version of the CBD, a daytime version of the CBD. Awesome company. What he boasts is 0.000 THC, and he tests for it, and it's a legitimate test and also a legitimate claim he's making. So check him out. Another one is the Fourth Frontier. That's a heart rate monitoring strap. So it is a chest strap, and then it goes to an app on your phone. But it's the only chest strap on the market that gives you all the standard stuff, respirations, beats per minute, strain, even has a body shock score on there. So if you're running, it tells you basically how hard you're impacting the ground. But the thing that sets it apart is it has lead to EKG capabilities while you're recording. So I've worn it during calls. I've worn it during training evolutions like a burn tower. Obviously, I wear it during my workouts, and you can look back, and as long as you're recording, it records lead 2. So you can look back over the entire duration of whatever you were doing, and you have a lead 2 there, and it marks any kind of abnormal beats, but it's a really cool thing to see, not only what heart rate zones you're in, but kind of what it's doing the whole time. So those are my two big ones. I'm also part of Athletic Brewing and a couple other ones that are listed on the show notes page, and I post about it on social media sometimes. Aside from that, if you like the show and you want to support it, there's also the Buy Me a Coffee button or the Buy Me a Coffee page. It's just an easy way to throw $3 my way, say, hey, thanks, these things aren't so terrible. I don't mind listening to it, and let me know I'm kind of going down the right path. Trying to keep this thing ad-free. I'm committed to it, but if you guys could help me out, check out the affiliates, support them, which will support me, or just go donate some coffee. It always comes back to you, too. For the past couple months now, at least a month, maybe 2, I've been putting like a Dunkin' Donuts or a Starbucks gift card up, more Dunkin' Donuts recently, to give you guys free coffee too on like a Thursday, Friday afternoon. So please go check that out. Thanks a lot. Let's look forward to 2024. Here we go. What I'm going to give you today is a couple things I'm all done with from 2023 personally, and then a couple things I'm really looking forward to in 24. And I'm going to leave you. The last thing is a lesson I learned from the Grinch. When I was watching the Grinch with Nathan, he said something towards the end, and I thought, well, that's just the most firefighter thing ever. So we're going to run through that real quick. Things I'm done with in 2024. Number one, biggest thing I'm done with in 2024, and I wrote this stuff down. I'm all done taking advice from people I don't want to be like. I'm so done with that. I'm all done taking advice from gatekeepers, people with limiting mindsets, people who want to tell me what I should or should not be doing based on their limitations and their fears. Dude, I've given them way too much reverence and way too much weight in my decision-making in the past year, and it's really been frustrating. It's really, the times that I do that, I know I'm doing it. I know I'm making probably the wrong decision while I'm doing it, but sometimes I just can't help myself because the stuff they're telling me to do or not do is usually the easy way out, or it's usually something that protects their ego or their insecurities or their fears or their failures. Now they're projecting that on me. And then obviously sometimes you want to take the easy way out. So sometimes I'm faced with the decision, and rather than say, you know what, I'm just going to do it because I want to, and it's going to be tough, but I think I'll figure it out, I'll adopt their mindset and I'll say, yeah, I guess I should probably hold back and just not do that, or skip out on that, or not try that, or that's not worth the effort. And it's really frustrating me. One of the major examples is with fitness stuff. And I don't mean that to sound like surprising by that, but there's a big talk in the fire service world and strength and conditioning world about overtraining, sleep deprivation, sleep loss, stress, all that stuff. And I believe in all those things. I know they're not just made up things. I teach about them when I teach the 4 pillars of firefighter wellness to our recruits. I talk about them on here. I get it. But every person is a little bit different. One of the major things that I usually buck on is the sleep loss thing, because I'm busy at work. I don't sleep a ton. I don't sleep great at work. We got the kids at home. Nathan still comes to the room 2 or 3 times a night. Sleep is not great. But some of the things I like doing happen at night, and I'm going to sacrifice more sleep in order to go do those things. But if I just listen to the conventional wisdom, or the hot button wisdom, or the loudest people in the room, who are also typically the most conservative, I'll skip out on those things. One of them is like hockey. Hockey happens late at night for adults. There's been several times now where I've been like, well, I was up late last night at work and we got stuff to do tomorrow. I just won't go skate tonight. Even though I feel fine, even though I really want to go skate, I'll kind of hamstring myself and be like, I'll just miss this fun thing I want to do. Inevitably, I sit at home wishing I would have gone, feeling like an idiot because I didn't just listen to myself, but I listened to these people who really have no vested interest in me, in my future, and what I'm doing. And really, what I really think it is they just want people to listen to them. They want to project their fears and insecurities on them, and it makes them feel more righteous when people follow along with it. I'm not saying sabotage yourself and be reckless and just go flying off the handle with reckless abandon for all these things, but I'm saying don't give them more weight than is needed. If you know you're doing a good job and you know you have a relatively balanced thing going on and you want to do something once in a while that kind of bucks the hot button issues and makes you and is better for you mentally or physically, then do it, man. And I tell you, when it frustrates me is when I pass on that mentality to other people, especially when I pass it on to the kids. And I know it while I'm doing it because it sounds something like this. Nah, it's too cold. We can't go ride our bikes right now. Or, nah, it's too late. We can't put the headlights on and go look for bugs and stuff. Or, nah, it's too much. Let's just settle down for the day and let's just have quiet time. That I know what I'm doing when I say it. I don't like it while I'm saying it, but I keep saying it because it's the easy way out. It's the easy way out, and it's a protection measure for putting forth more effort, from putting yourself out there, and I just don't like it. And I will say, though, that while you're doing it, you feel righteous. You feel like, oh, I know more than this person. Look at them doing all that stuff. They should really listen to me and be more moderate with that. That would be much smarter. I am so smart as I sit back and do nothing. So, believe in yourself in 2024. Stop listening and taking advice from people you don't want to be like, who don't have a real interest in your success or future, and who really don't know you or don't know your situation, or you think could possibly be projecting their own fears and limitations on you. Don't give credence to the gatekeepers, because that's what they are. I did a whole episode on it about dealing with them. As I've told you guys on this podcast before, a lot of the episodes on here are things I'm working through and trying to figure out. And it just so happens to be that's the way that firefighters and first responders do things. They try to teach someone else how to do stuff that they're struggling with, so maybe they'll figure out the answer along the way, right? That's what this is. There's also a part of it, excuse me. There's also a part of it, well, I'll get into that in the next point. Let's move off that one and onto this one. What I'm going to get into in 2024, because these two things are connected. What I'm going to get into, what I'm interested in 2024, is basically the opposite of my first point. I'm into and I'm interested in people that are doing things earnestly for the greater good or for their personal benefit, or to actually help someone, that are pushing forward and doing stuff and active and looking for ways to be better and looking for ways to do more. And I just had the last episode or two ago or something like that where I said, hey, shouldn't you just be happy with doing what you can and not be so worried about social media and modern times of like do more. And I'm not talking about do more in excess. I'm talking about just being better and doing stuff and not being idle and throwing rocks from the bottom and turning into a Cheeto finger that just has advice for everyone but isn't really doing anything. Or like I said before, it's projecting. I've said now in a bunch of different circumstances, whether it's guys retiring, guys promoting, people getting in special teams, and just general life decisions. It's so much easier to run towards something than run away from it. And retirement is one of the things that's come up recently when we've been talking about guys retiring. It's so hard for someone to say, I just got to leave this place because I got to run away from it. It's so much easier for someone to retire or make a life change because they're like, I'm going to leave this place because I'm so much looking forward to doing this other thing or this other position or getting involved in this stuff. Going towards something, chasing something, and trying to get something is so much easier than running away from something. If you're running away from something, you don't know what you're running towards. You're just hoping that something better comes up. But identifying and finding something you want will almost leave you no choice but to leave that other thing behind that you're not really that satisfied with. In 2024, I'm looking forward. I'm going towards stuff I want. I'm no longer running from stuff I don't want. And I just hope that that makes sense. And maybe you guys can join me on some of that. And some of you are listening and dig that. Join me. Let's do this thing, man. Let's run towards stuff that we want. I'm also in that vein and in that same idea. I'm all done. So there's this saying, right? It just popped in my head. I'm going to try to remember it. But the opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is indifference. And that's what comes to mind with this conversation because I'm not looking to defy or prove anyone wrong. I'm not looking to defy gatekeepers, to have someone say you shouldn't do that and say, well, now I'm going to do it. That's not what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to completely dismiss the gatekeepers and make them not even a factor. The whole love and hate thing comes from there's this old anecdote that I'm probably going to screw up because I haven't thought of it in a while, but it was like this guy is cheating on his wife with his secretary, right? And over the course of time, the wife basically realizes it and confronts the guy. And someone asked her, how did you know your husband was cheating with the secretary? And she said, because every time he came home, all he would do was trash his secretary and talk smack about her and say how bad of a job she was doing and how much he couldn't stand her. And I knew that if he really felt that way, he would have fired her. But for some reason, he felt necessary to keep talking about her. And that's what clued me in that something was going on. So that's where that comes from is I'm not going to make a point in giving people the weight on me to prove them wrong. I'm just going to leave them in the dust and go do what I want to do. Does that translate? I feel like that kind of translates loosely, but it's basically in the same vein as the same idea as like chasing something and not running away from something. I'm not one to say just because you told me I can't do something, that means I have to do it. Most of the time, if you're like, you can't do something, I'm like, tell me why. You might be right, but I want to know what I'm kind of getting into. That's from people I trust, people I want to be like, people I want to learn lessons from, but not people that are just like, yeah, you shouldn't do that because it sounds tough. Well, duh, right? This is tough. Organizing this is tough. Having Katie take the kids to the store for 2 hours so I can get this done is mentally tough. Slow growth is tough. It's all tough, man. It's all tough. And if I listen to people that said well, don't you have enough to do? You have the kids and Katie and your job and the personal training stuff. Do you really have to do a podcast too? Or do you really have to worry about going out to departments and speaking? Or are you sure you want to travel and do conferences? Yeah, I do. I want to do all that stuff. But it's so easy to be like, yeah, you know what? That is a lot. Maybe it's too much. And then I'm like, but I like doing hockey and I like occasionally going to jiu-jitsu and I like doing bike rides too. Does that mean that those shouldn't be done either, even though I like them and they make everything else better, but it's more stuff? But it's so easy to fall in the mindset of I got enough. If I do any more, it's gonna be bad. It's just too much. It's just too much. It's not just too much, dude. We are so much more resilient naturally, so much stronger, so much more capable, durable. If we're just gonna work the slogan in this thing, than we know, and then we give ourselves credit for. But it's so much easier to adopt the mentality of that's enough. Anything more would be too much. I should probably throttle back. Don't throttle back. Keep going. Now, we were watching The Grinch because it was Christmas time. We're watching the animated one, which I got lectured by a 12-year-old when I said, "Oh, did you watch The Grinch?" And they said, "The animated one or the cartoon one?" And I said, "The not human one." And I got a whole earful about the difference between animated and cartoon. Anyways, we're watching the animated one. And towards the end of it, he brings back the toys. And someone said, "Who stole our Christmas?" He brings back the toys, comes down the hill with his big giant sled, and he says to the effect of, "It was me who stole your Christmas. I did it because I thought it would fix something that happened to me a long time ago, and it didn't. I am sorry." And in that moment, I thought, that is the most firefighter, fire department thing I've ever heard. How many times have you seen someone take away someone else's Christmas because of something that happened to them a long time ago? Whether it's verbally cutting them down, being physically not abusive to them, but like being demeaning to someone, restricting access to something, gatekeeping, taking away privileges at work, going out of their way to screw with someone because long time ago they were scorned, pissed off, crapped on, shortchanged, and now they feel like if I do that to someone else, that's going to make me feel better. And that's going to make my position better in the fire department or just make my ego better. Dude, it was the most firefighter thing I've ever seen. And it's unfortunate, right? It's not a cool thing to like have happen to you or to do to people. But if anything, doing this podcast now with more solo episodes in the past couple of years, it's given me a reason and almost been an assignment for me to start looking at why I do things, why people have done things, and not try to like armchair psychoanalyze them. But it really, most of the time, I'll be honest, it's not that deep. You don't need a degree in psychology to figure out why people are doing stuff. I'm not all into the pop psychology necessarily, but I think just thinking logically and looking at like, why am I acting this way? Why would that do that? That part of the movie really stood out to me because I've seen that time and time again in the fire service. Someone taking away someone else's Christmas, i.e. joy, opportunity, happiness, whatever, because of something that happened a long time ago to them and they thought doing that would make them feel better. What you don't see often is the last 4 words there, "and I'm sorry." You don't see that very often. So maybe that's something you can look forward to in 2024. I personally identify with that one, and I will be working on that. I've taken away people's Christmas before. I've been a jerk. I've been unfair. I've been exceptionally rude for the sake of effect and sport. And I've taken away people's Christmas in the past to benefit my own ego and make myself feel bigger or smarter or whatever. I'm hoping that what I've done at work and on here in the past couple of years has shown a deviation from that. Hoping. But it's something to work on, something to be aware of. It's a very human, real thing. Dr. Seuss is the man. Hop on Pop is obnoxious, but a lot of the other books are good. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me this year in 2023. I'm looking forward to 24. I really am. I appreciate you guys for showing up, hanging out, listening, tolerating, humoring. Appreciate you for supporting my guests, the affiliates, everything. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to 2024. We'll talk to you guys soon. Let's all keep working on being more capable and durable and be a fourth shift firefighter.